This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What's up, Detroit sports fans? Welcome to the Fan Reporter Show, made by fans, for fans, powered by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. I'm Nick, and sitting right across from me is my boy Andrew, who's going to give you this week's topics.
Well, the Pistons are winners of 5 straight. Galloway's a maker of 12 straight. And I can't keep anything straight with this team. Plus, the Lions went on a shopping spree. Let's get into it.
All right, so as you mentioned, the Pistons have won 5 straight. But I want to actually take do the Pistons last tonight, just because there's so much to talk about with them. We don't have as much to talk about with the Lions, but this is going to be the first time on this podcast that we will be doing Lions talk.
We did a little preview before.
We did do a little bit of a preview, but now we're actually giving you a breakdown.
This is the first time we have real Lions news on the podcast.
Yes, this is the first real Lions news that we've gotten to date in the 2019-2020 NFL season. So it's time for football. We're only, 40 some odd days away from the draft. We're starting to ramp up that talk, and obviously free agency, the legal tampering period has opened today, I believe, technically.
I love that. It's 5 minutes into the legal tampering period, and you already have signings. What?
There was illegal tampering, my friend.
You openly admitted it. That's what happened.
Yeah, basically. Unless you were literally waiting. Who was it? Wasn't it... God, I don't remember, but there was someone from one of the Detroit organizations that was literally on someone's doorstep at, when the clock was ticking down to the legal tampering period.
I can imagine just sitting at the doorstep, looking at your watch,
waiting for the clock to strike, and then time, knock. You think that's funny? That actually happened. So we're gonna start off with some Lions talk here. We had the Lions go on a bit of a shopping spree on day one of the legal tampering period in the NFL. The entire NFL went on a shopping spree. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
Lots of names changing teams here. We've had some long-time players change colors today, including Terrell Suggs, who's likely going to be going to Arizona and saying bye-bye to Baltimore after his 16...
How many years do you think he has in Arizona?
1 or 2. I mean, the guy's like 36 years old, 36, 37 years old. Like, he's old.
What if Arizona signed him to a 5-year deal?
Oh, my God. No, he's got 1 or 2 years there. This is him just saying, I don't want to hang it up just yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to set some roots in the city of Phoenix or in the Arizona area, maybe in Southern California, where he wants to spend the rest of his life. And so this is what he's doing. He's just getting comfortable, and that's what he's going to do in his 1 or 2 years in Arizona. But 16 years in Baltimore, and he's no longer there. That's pretty surprising.
Yeah,
but. We ain't talking about the Ravens. We ain't talking about the Ravens. We're not talking about the Cardinals.
Nope.
Nobody's talking about the Cardinals.
Yep.
We're talking about the Lions.
Unless you're wondering who they're going to draft first overall.
This is true. Draft coverage will talk about the Cardinals, but not yet.
Yeah, if you want that, twitch.tv/The Fan Report.
Nice plug. Shameless plug. I like it. But yes, we are doing mock drafts tonight. So, so the Lions made 4 signings today. Agreed to 4 contracts in theory with 4 players.
Yes.
How's that sound? The first name that was dropped this morning would have been the wide receiver. Would have been the slot wide receiver Danny Amendola, previously with Miami. And God, I can't remember the other team he played for.
Who was it?
Oh, right, it was New England. Because everybody in Detroit now.
That's like a team no one
played
thinks
in
of.
Boston.
Like, such under the radar team.
I know. Nobody good plays there. But anyways, so Danny Amendola signs here on a 1-year deal for about $4.5 million. It brings a much needed slot receiver to the city of Detroit after Golden Tate's still in free agency. A much cheaper route than going with Golden Tate. Much shorter term than going with Golden Tate. Is it a bit of a buddy deal that Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia gave to Danny Amendola? Yes. But it technically fills a need. I don't think it fills it quite to the capacity that I would have liked, but it does. It fills a need the Lions had. They needed a slot receiver with the absence of Golden Tate. They didn't have anybody there. Yeah. So can I fault him too much? Yes and no.
And he is 33, but it's a 1 year deal.
It's a 1 year deal.
It's a 1 year deal.
They paid him a little bit more than I would have liked. $4.5 million. I mean, again, this is a bit of a buddy deal. Here you go. I would have liked to see a different name the Lions grab, someone a little bit younger, a little bit more of a playmaker. Made a little bit bigger of a splash in the offensive end because they definitely focus on defense and free agency.
I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's
a little bit underwhelming to me. Yeah. Is it surprising? Not at all. Like that's part of the reason that I'm not overly disappointed is because of the fact that this is no surprise to me. This is this fits in right with the MO of what the Lions have done under Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia's tenures in their positions is sign former Patriots and trade for former Patriots, just bringing guys that they are familiar with and know what they are on and off the football field. And that's exactly what this is. So, again, does it make me mad? No, we're talking about a slot receiver here. Does it underwhelm me slightly? Yes, because, again, the name that I wanted them to bring in, because the wide receiver market was very thin. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But the name I wanted them to bring in was Adam Humphries from Tampa Bay with a breakout year last year.
Yeah.
Very solid player, a very quick receiver. Was going to be quite a bit more expensive, like double to triple the amount that they paid Danny Amendola. Yeah. I don't even know if the terms of his contract with the Titans have gotten released yet, but I know he signed with Tennessee. But he would have been a name that I would have liked to see wearing the Honolulu blue next year. But he was probably just a little bit more than what the brass here wanted to pay. So they kind of went with Danny Amendola. Not really that much else to talk about, though. Again, it's a slot receiver on a one-year deal and a guy that nobody's surprised the Lions signed. So we'll move on to the next guy. A little bit of a surprise name for the Lions to bring in was Justin Coleman, the nickel corner from Seattle, got paid.
Highest paid in the league.
Highest paid nickelback in the history of the NFL. This is another specialty position, covering slot receivers, covering tight ends, covering the backfield, wherever they're going to put them in man coverage or zone coverage. But it's a specialty position. I'm a little bit confused. I like Justin Coleman. Solid player. A little bit confused with the length and dollar amount of this contract. Yeah. I mean, $9 million a year on a 4-year deal is a lot for a nickelback. Because, again, that is a luxury position. That's not... It's not a starting corner. You're not talking about someone that we're trusting to play opposite Darius Slay here, which, by the way, they still have a hole at. It's someone who's going to be in on long, second and long, third down situations, covering a slot receiver, which has become a very dangerous position in the NFL. But it's not a starting corner. It's not a guy who's going to make plays on any given down. This is a very specialty position. So. The dollar amount definitely confused me quite a bit. Obviously, Nevin Lawson was a guy who played that position quite a bit for them in previous years, and they cut him to free up some space. Much more expensive than Nevin Lawson is the route they went here.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about the Justin Coleman signing, Andrew?
I mean, I don't understand. It's like Nevin Lawson was serviceable at the position. He wasn't a world beater.
He was okay.
He was all right.
He was okay.
Yeah, he was all right. I understand, he's what, 25 years old?
Coleman?
Yeah.
Seems like because he's only played 52 games in his career, so 25.
So the length makes sense to me because he will be able to play out at least for most of his contract. Be able to play be able to play at his peak value for most of his contract.
Yeah, but
he's gonna be in his prime for the majority of his contract.
Right, but in the position
throwing that much money at the position is what.
Not just that, but throwing that length of time at that position, like that position being the luxury that it is. I feel like it's one of those positions that you rotate young guys in and out quite a bit. You fill that in the draft and things like that. That I don't quite understand committing long term to a guy in a position that's considered a luxury. That's what I don't understand. That's like giving a fullback a 7-year or a 6-year deal. Like, who does that? Nobody. Fullbacks are signed to 1 and 2 year deals unless you're talking about guys like, I even think John Kuhn was signed to 1 and 2 year deals much of his career. So again, I don't quite understand signing luxury positions to long term deals in the 4 and 5 year range, especially giving him the amount of money that he got. I get it's Detroit. I get you're the Lions. I get you have to overpay for some of these guys, and I know that was a position of need. However, just the length of the contract doesn't make sense, and neither does the dollar amount. Even if he is a good player, he's not a guy that's going to be playing every single down. So,
no, that makes sense.
But does he make the defense better? Yes, he does. There's no question. Moving on to the next guy here, another position in need. Obviously, there was a big focus in free agency for the Lions as it opened up in filling holes, in filling positions of need And the next signing here, Jesse James is the tight end from Pittsburgh. Lions didn't have a tight end on the roster, so this was very clearly a position of need and something that the Lions have underutilized.
You could argue he was the best available at the position.
Oh, absolutely. He was near the top end of players available in the position. He's very young. I believe he's only 24 years old, so he's quite young at the position. Had some nice flashes with Pittsburgh. You knew he was a guy who could make some things happen. I don't mind the signing. This is an obvious need. I like Jesse James. He does quite a bit on the field, and he fits into what Matthew Stafford and the Lions do with their tight ends, which is not feed them. It's use them in certain specific situations, and that's what Jesse James is. He's a situational guy that you can put him on the field on any given down, but you're only going to throw him the football, X amount of times. You're not going to, feed him like they do Travis Kelce. You feed him like Indy does Eric Ebron. He's going to get his opportunities, and they're going to find, a slot for him in the offense, but it's not going to be that high of a volume. That's what he was with Pittsburgh. He wasn't a guy that was just fed consistently, and I'm okay with that. That's obviously what the Lions want to do with tight ends, what Matt Stafford tends to want to do with tight ends. So I'm not a big believer in the Lions with Stafford as their quarterback, who I don't think likes tight ends very much, considering he didn't like Pettigrew, who was a first-round pick. Ebron's blossomed elsewhere because he's getting more opportunity than he got here.
But he's a red zone threat, though.
He is a red zone threat. There's no question. But so is Ebron.
6'7"?
Yes, he's huge. Yeah. But he's definitely big. But again, I don't like the idea of giving and paying massive amounts of money to a position that isn't utilized that much here in Detroit.
Yeah.
And the tight end's one of them. We don't utilize tight ends as much as we could or even should.
Yeah.
But and Eric Ebron's proof in the pudding in that.
We have a different offensive coordinator from the Ebron days.
We do.
So
yes.
So we don't know. Maybe what's his name?
Darrell Bevell.
Darrell Bevell. Maybe he likes. He may. He may. In Seattle, I didn't see him use a tight end that often, but that could have been Russell Wilson too. That could have been Russell Wilson also. We don't know.
Yeah. But again, with Darrell Bevell, I think it was another situational thing with tight ends as well. They did go big with Jimmy Graham, though.
They did.
So I don't know if. So they did have a tight end that was a big red zone threat when he was there. So this kind of fits in what Darrell Bevell seemed to like to do with Seattle. Granted, you could argue that Jimmy Graham was underutilized in Seattle. So, it's going to be interesting to see how he fits in here. He's a weapon and a definite weapon in the red zone. But we'll see how he fits.
And on to the biggest name signing.
Now, in my opinion, at tight end, they draft run blockers and a guy who's able to catch the ball in the red zone as well. That's literally what I do.
I hope this calls all speculation lines going tight in the first round.
I hope so too. I saw a mock draft today that had the Jags taking T.J. Hockenson at 7. And I went, "Oh my god, thank you!" If someone up above us takes T.J. Hockenson before he can get to us, I will be so happy.
Just don't give us the option,
because then it doesn't give the Lions the option to take him and then get drilled by everybody here. And two, it doesn't even give the fans the option of being mad that we didn't take him if he blossoms into something. You can't be mad at that point unless you are insane and ridiculous. Exactly. And then you will go that route, say, "Oh, they should have traded up to get him." You know what? Stop, please. The next guy that was signed today was the big name, arguably one of the top 5 players in free agency this year.
Sporting News actually has him ranked as the highest after DeMarcus Lawrence and Jadeveon Clowney got franchise tagged.
Yes. So
they have him ranked as the highest available free agent of all positions.
He very well could be.
He could be.
He's a 25-year-old pass rusher, Trey Flowers from the New England Patriots.
Familiar with Patricia's system.
Yep, very familiar with Patricia's system. Played under him. He's a guy who... You could tell this is a guy who Patricia loves, because one thing we've noticed about Matt Patricia's defense is he loves guys who can be considered as chess pieces, that he can move around situationally, safeties that can play into the box and stop the run, edge rushers that he can move around on either side of the ball and stand them up and bring them down into a 3 or 4 point stance. Guys like that he's able to move around his defense and give some different looks to the offensive line that can confuse the quarterback or keep them off guard, or draw double teams in places that help the defense more than the offense. So he's a guy who fits into that system. He's he's not that big. He's a little bit more compact, but he's quick, and that fits perfectly into what Matt Patricia wants to do. But man, do they pay a ton for him. Am I mad about the money? No. That's standard dollar for what a top-tier edge rusher is going to get, the $16 to $18 million range for a 5-year deal. And again, this guy was 25, so he'll be ending his contract at the age of 30. I'm fine with the length of deal here.
Yeah.
I'm also not even that mad about the money. This is about what I expected. And honestly, you were paying Ziggy Ansah $18 million a year last year. So, and is this guy a downgrade from Ziggy Ansah? Hey, if he's healthy, I'm going to say no, he's not. This is not a downgrade from Ziggy Ansah if he's healthy. If Ziggy's healthy, if they're both healthy, I'll take Ziggy Ansah just because of what he's able to do. We've seen him have an 11, 12 sack a year season. But whereas Trey Flowers' career high was last year at 7.5. But at the same time, it was an obvious position of need for the Lions. Obvious position of need. They desperately needed pass rush this offseason, and this fills that need. They brought back Romeo Okwara on a contract. They have Deshaun Hand, who was very good last year for them in his situational spots. Damon Harrison is a big time run stopper in the middle for them at the nose tackle position. They have Ashawn Robinson, who's kind of blossomed a little bit in the last year as well. He picked it up playing next to Damon Harrison, playing next to Snacks. So there's obviously a focus for Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn on building the D-line this offseason by keeping Okwara, bringing in Trey Flowers here. And I'm not quite sure that they're done yet either. I still think that there may be another need as an edge rusher somewhere in there. And they may be looking to bring in a guy that can rush, a linebacker that may be able to rush the passer, fill some spots in the, in zone passing situations and stop the run. And guys that they've been connected with are Anthony Barr from the Vikings and C.J. Mosley from the Ravens. So both those guys filled that need, definitely. But Trey Flowers, again, he has the potential to be a special player. And am I mad about the signing? No. It was talked about that they could be in a bidding war with Tennessee or Miami to get him. And I can actually almost tell you, I don't think the Lions were the team with the highest dollar amount on a contract offered. I can almost guarantee you that a team like Miami or Tennessee would have offered a higher dollar amount to get Trey Flowers.
Well, there was projected to be a bidding war for Trey Flowers.
I can almost bet you that Tennessee and Miami offered probably $17, $18 million a year on probably a 4 to 5 year deal.
So I think Trey Flowers part of the reason he came here was wanting to play with Patricia.
Not just that, but also looking at those three teams, I would argue Detroit's got the best chance for him to win.
True.
They have the one thing that Detroit has that those teams don't have is a quarterback. Mariota hasn't proven to be that great, and he's always injured, and he hasn't proven to be that great when he's not. In Miami, Ryan Tannehill ain't cutting it down there. So I would take Stafford over both of those guys for sure. So I would argue that in Detroit, he's got the best chance to win out of the three. Plus, he's going into a system that he's familiar with that he can blossom in. So
there were a lot of pluses for him.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's a lot of pluses coming here to Detroit than going elsewhere. So with that being said, though, with the guys that they signed, with Trey Flowers on the edge, which is what we've been speculating as the Lions going within the first round, with Justin Coleman, the nickelback coming in, with Jesse James filling a tight end need, and Danny Amendola as a wide receiver. What do you see the Lions doing at pick number 8 in the first round of this upcoming draft? Do you see them going a different route now? What do you think they do?
Edge rusher suddenly becomes a little less of a need because at first I had the Lions projected to go either Clelin Ferrell, Montez Sweat. They could still go that route and just be dominant. Now it opens up for them to get a little more creative. You could now see them go a more DK Metcalf type.
Please don't.
You could see him go.
Okay, I'm sorry, but the DK Metcalf train needs to stop. The kid cannot run laterally. He's slow. He's fast as hell in a straight line. That's it.
You could see him go the Greedy Williams route because he's not going to be playing nickel. But
no. But I don't know if you heard the comments from the Lions front office and scouts during the combine that when asked about their interest in Greedy Williams, their response was, "We like guys who know how to tackle."
There you go.
And that's a definite.
That's a definite no then.
Yeah. That doesn't count him out, but that definitely doesn't favor go in his favor.
Yeah. I don't see him going O-line again. Even though they did just lose TJ Lang.
They do have a needed O-line, but I don't know if there's a guard in that spot at number 8 that I'd like them to take. I mean, there's some tackles up there with Jonah Williams and Jawan Taylor, but one or both those guys, one, could be gone by that time, and two, they don't have a needed tackle. So, but, you know, I'm actually going to disagree with you a little bit here. I actually think the Lions should still go pass rush.
Oh,
I still think I think they should. I'm not saying could. I still want Montez Sweat or
I
Clelin
didn't say
Ferrell.
they shouldn't. I never said they shouldn't.
I've always been a big believer. If you want to win in the NFL, you become elite somewhere.
Yeah.
And pass rush is one of those positions where if you are elite, you have a chance to win a football game at every given night.
That's what I'm saying. They have a chance to have a down and pass rush.
Exactly. When the Giants were winning Super Bowls, their pass rush was elite. When the Broncos won their Super Bowl, they won it on the back of their pass rush with DeMarcus Ware opposite of Von Miller. That you had other guys in that pass rush that were ridiculous. The Lions, if they were to draft Montez Sweat or Rashawn Gary or Clelin Ferrell or Ed Oliver, someone there that can rush the passer, they have an opportunity to become elite in a position. And when was the last time the Lions were truly elite in a position group? I can't tell you. I honestly, the closest would have been 2014, which is, I think, the best team we've seen the Lions have in the last decade. So if you're telling me that they have a chance to become elite somewhere by drafting a guy at number 8, I want them to do it. Teams rotate pass rushers in every single down. So I don't want to see just 2 guys that can rush the passer, just 3 guys that are able to rush the passer.
Yeah.
I want 4, 5, 6 guys in the roster that are solid to good to great pass rushers. You got Trey Flowers. That's a good start. Romeo Okwara, great year last year. Hope he continues. Deshaun Hand, great year last year. Hope he continues. I want to add to that. Give me a Montez Sweat opposite Romeo Okwara or Trey Flowers. I'd love that. I would love to have Montez Sweat coming in because that means that the opposing O-line and the opposing quarterback will never have a break. Keep them on the run, close off one side of the field, collapse the pocket every single down, and you will suffocate teams' offenses. And that's what I really want to see the Lions do at number 8.
I can't disagree with you. I can't at all. But
however, Greedy Williams would be a little bit of an interesting. It does open the door to Greedy Williams as well, a little bit more. I feel like even though he's not as strong of a tackler, it does open it up a little bit more. However, my one issue with them drafting Greedy Williams here is the fact that because he has a lack of talent in the tackling department. I would have liked to see them grab a sure tackling safety in free agency, a Landon Collins, like we were talking about before, who signed with the Redskins. If they had brought in Landon Collins, I'd say open the door wide open to Greedy Williams because that gives you an insurance policy in the back. If Greedy Williams misses a tackle, you've got a guy there that's a sure tackler to clean up the mess. Yeah. Greedy Williams is a great coverage corner, not a great tackler. You got to have someone else back there that is a great tackler, and that would have been a guy like Landon Collins. Are there other safeties out there that are good tacklers? Absolutely. But that would have been the guy I would have liked to see for them to grab. But now that we haven't heard them connected to any safeties out there beyond Landon Collins, who's now gone and off the market, I'm not so sure I want to see the Lions take Greedy Williams because of that reason. What's our other option? I mean, Tease Tabor is our other option right now, which I definitely don't want to have happen. But, again, I would still rather them become elite in a position group than draft someone like Greedy Williams and not have an insurance policy for him to make up for his lack of ability of tackling. So I still want an edge rusher for the Lions in the draft, for sure.
Let's move on to some Pistons talk.
Before we move on, one question.
Oh, you got another question?
Yeah, one question. How do you feel about Lions defense next year? Knowing what we have now.
Knowing what we have now, it's an improvement. I love our inside now. I love
Can't
our
disagree.
line. I think
you know who my favorite player on that line is still? Snacks, man. The guy's a monster. He's honest to God top 3 in the league and top 2 in the league in what he does.
I'm still worried about the secondary a little bit. I'm not completely secure about our secondary.
Don't disagree entirely.
So.
I actually completely agree. We still are going to end up trotting Tease Tabor out opposite of Darius Slay. Like, that's not ideal. Yeah. And then Tracy Walker looks like he's able to fill that safety spot, but I would have liked to see them grab a safety in free agency.
Yeah. We'll see what they do in the draft.
That's another position that gets rotated quite a bit. Yeah. So I would have, and I still want them to grab a linebacker to help with the run and pass coverage as well.
Yeah.
On some of the bigger bodies. But so go ahead.
All right. So moving on to the Pistons, they've now won 5 straight. 13 of the last 16, still holding on to that 6th seed right now. And a large part of that, it's been a couple players, but a large part of this resurgence has been, and someone we didn't really cover too much on the last pod, was Andre Drummond. And he was just named today Eastern Conference Player of the Week. And rightfully so. Since over the past 16 games, he's put up averages of 20.7 points per game, 16.4 boards per game, and 2 blocks and 2 steals per game, while shooting 60.
Which I actually believe he's the only player in NBA history to put up numbers like that.
Really?
Over a 10-game stretch. Yes, I think he is the only. I think the only other name. No, it was only player to average 15 points, 15 boards, a block and a steal over a 10-game period or something like that, or a 20-game period was Akeem Olajuwon.
Oh.
So I'm not comparing him to Akeem Green. All I'm saying is there's some nice company there.
But you can even argue the best part of this is he's doing this all while shooting 65% from the floor.
Which is one of the issues we had with Drummond early on in our podcast was his efficiency issues, which he's clearly fixed that.
And it's not like he's not taking shots. He's taking 200 shots over the last 13 games.
Oh, yeah. He's still shooting the ball.
And then 67% from the free throw line. And saw a stat the other day where he was actually the Pistons' best clutch free throw shooter, like down this, like in the.
Is he really? Good for him.
Can you imagine technical foul trying Drummond did the free throw?
We got about a minute and a half left, and we're down by one. A technical foul, or
intentionally fouling on a Drummond,
defensive 3 in the key, and they trot Drummond to the line.
But how much of there's a lot of factors here, but what are your thoughts on Drummond's play over these past 16 games, and do you think that this is a new Drummond, or what are your thoughts on this?
This is the best basketball Drummond's played in his life.
Yes, I agree.
There's no question in my mind about that. I don't care what he did when he had 68 double-doubles a couple of years ago. I don't care. That wasn't as good a basketball as what we're seeing right now. This guy is ridiculously good. He has cemented.
He's had all double-doubles, by the way.
I know. But he has arguably cemented himself as one of the top centers in the league as of right now. And I don't know if there's a team in the league that wouldn't want him on their team. I'll be honest with you. I haven't been the biggest Drummond fan since he's joined the league and been with the Pistons. I haven't. I thought there was so much left to be desired with his game. And after post All-Star break, the past 16 games, as we mentioned, I can't say that. This is exactly what I've wanted Andre Drummond to be. Do I still want him to develop a game outside 5 feet? Yes, I do. I mean, but you could argue I may be asking a little too much at that point because the guy's given us so much as of late. And there's no question in my mind that he has been the number one reason for this team's success as of late. He has been. Drummond has been one of the most clutch performers on this team, both offensively and defensively, that anybody could have asked for. If you aren't happy with the way he's played as of late, then you aren't watching good basketball.
So you think he's more of a cause of success rather than a result of the success?
As of right now, yes. You can argue that he is a cause of success. Do I think there's also a reason for his better play, which is, the point guards having some solid play. The play of Blake Griffin continuing to be successful, albeit in a lesser role than it was earlier in the year. But he doesn't have to be as in a big, as big of a role because of how the rest of the team is played. But there's a lot of other factors that are involved here that have taken the ball away from Andre Drummond in situations that are not good for him to have the basketball. That's one of the things we talked about in earlier podcasts was they aren't giving Drummond the ball in situations he's not comfortable in, which is something that the Pistons have done for years.
Yeah.
And now we're not seeing that happen. He's only getting the ball in great situations, and that's a big reason why his numbers are so good.
Absolutely. And he's been a lot smarter with the ball in those situations.
Absolutely.
Too. He's taken way less dumb shots. He's turning the ball over less too. He's averaging less than 2 turnovers a game over this stretch too. So, but
he's not getting the ball away from the basket. He's getting it near the basket.
And another really impressive development. Langston Galloway has really
been on a tear, man.
Over the last 8 games, he's gone 23 for 37 on his 3-point attempt.
He's hit 12 straight now,
which is 62%. That's up from 33% in the first 55 games.
Yes,
and
now this is from beyond the arc.
Yeah, and that's and that's including the 12 straight that he's hit. He hasn't missed a 3 since the last time we were on this podcast.
He has not missed a 3 since last week's podcast.
So first we had Luke Kennard, then we have Langston Galloway. Do you think this is just some hot shooting, or is there something more to this?
I mean, okay. You don't hit 12 straight without just being red hot.
I'm not saying that he's going to not miss a three for the rest of the season, but
he's not going to stay at a 67% clip.
Yeah.
He's going to come back to the mean at least at some point. He's going to have a cold night that's going to cool him down a bit. Do I think this guy has the ability to shoot over 40% from three the rest of the way? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hope he does. In fact, I think he does shoot over 40% the rest of the way from beyond the arc. And you know what? It's also an important reason why the Pistons have been so successful as of late. Their shooting is far and away better. I mean, hell, the last 15, 16 games or whatever it is, the Pistons are the most number one. They are the number one team in offensive efficiency in the league. When's the last time you can say the Pistons were number one in anything?
Nope. Yeah, I don't know.
This Pistons team is a product of total team success. Not just Andre Drummond, not just Blake Griffin, who, mind you, is having the best year of his career, but it's everybody. Luke Kennard's been on a tear. Langston Galloway has obviously been on a tear. The man hasn't missed a shot in umpteen days.
Here are my thoughts, though. I think there is still some underlying cause to this because I don't think it's a coincidence that both Kennard, Galloway, Ellington are all getting hot.
It's ball movement.
Yes, they are all making the extra pass. It's a level of ball movement I have not seen from the Pistons since the late thousands.
Oh, absolutely.
As soon as you think someone's taking a shot, there's another pass coming. There's no more hero ball. Blake Griffin's passing it out a lot more now. There were plays where I really thought they were running the weave. That's how much they're passing the ball.
You don't see a team be top three and honestly number one, the best in the league in offensive efficiency without guys making the extra pass on pretty much every given possession. They are making the extra pass all the time.
It goes to show
ball
how
movement
important that is
a very key factor in your team's offensive efficiency.
I finally started watching the Warriors a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's what happened.
But ball movement is a very key factor in how good your team's offensive efficiency is. And it's a big reason why you're seeing this team be so good. It is because of the fact that they're passing the ball. They can rely on other guys to score the basketball right now, whether it be Luke Kennard, whether it be Ish Smith, who for some reason has scored a little bit every now and then, whether it be Langston Galloway or Drummond or Blake or Reggie Jackson on some nights. I mean, they've got names that are able to put the ball in the basket for once, and it's a big reason why they're comfortable making the extra pass. I mean, before with Stanley Johnson out there, it was a black hole. If he got the ball with 5 seconds left in possession, well, you can toss that up as a missed shot, and 2, or a turnover, and 2, no points. It's a wasted possession. A negative mark against the offensive efficiency. Now, there's several guys they can pass the ball to on the floor that can hit shots for them, and it's a big reason why they're so successful. I love it.
Yeah.
They're comfortable with ball movement now, and you can tell.
Yeah, and you can tell they're more comfortable with each other too. Like that go like there's implicit trust when you start developing ball movement in offense. Because if the team doesn't trust each other, they're not going to pass the ball to each other, and the whole thing falls apart.
Right.
And I want to bring to mind a quote here, and this is going to lead us right into some of the Blake Griffin talk. So this was after this was a quote from earlier this past week. Andre Drummond was talking about Blake Griffin, and he said, there was a play in Atlanta. I've never had someone do this to me before. It was actually a play drawn up for Blake, but he told Reggie just give it to me instead. Playing knowing that he has confidence in me allows me to give him confidence too. And I think
Wait, who said this?
This was Andre Drummond about Blake Griffin.
Okay.
So I think this is the underlying root of
There's confidence in each other.
The entire stretch right now is the fact that these players now have confidence in each other, they trust each other, and they're moving the ball really well with each other.
There's no question. I mean, confidence has been a big factor in something that this team has lacked for a couple of years now. There's no question about that. And you're starting to see them play legitimately confident basketball now. What caused it? I don't really know. Like they literally just flipped the switch. Once the deadline or the All-Star break hit, they flipped the switch and confidence hit. Like
it's weird. I've never seen this kind of.
You can't explain mental changes.
Yeah.
You can't explain that. And This is something I really haven't seen a team do. I don't know if it's, if it was Stanley Johnson, not having confidence in his offensive abilities and getting rid of that in your offensive flow and allowing Luke Kennard to take a bigger role, or inserting a guy like Wayne Ellington into a bigger role, or Thon Maker's mentality in this, on the floor and on every given night, or whatever it was. Like I don't know.
Digging into the guys.
Exactly.
Too,
I don't know what it's been that's caused this increase in confidence levels in these guys, but. I don't think I don't think this team would be performing as well if Reggie Bullock and Stanley Johnson were still here. That's nothing against either one of them. They're both good in what they do.
Bullock's actually really slowed down in LA too.
Yes, well, they're not really.
He got
using
off to a
much.
nice start.
They're not really
using
him
now,
much.
exactly. They've toned on the usage.
Why they continue to use KCP over him is beyond me. Although the Lakers seem to be in full on tank mode.
Oh, they are.
No Lonzo for the rest of the year. No BI for the rest of the year. LeBron's not playing back to backs. I mean, they're literally going to trot out Josh Hart, Kyle Kuzma, and his mom and dad on some nights. So. So you're not seeing a very good Lakers team the rest of the way. But no, this team is just so different, and it's exciting to see because this has been the best basketball. I mean, they're the best team in the. Let me calm down. Let me calm down. They are the hottest team in the NBA right now.
Whoa!
I will say they are playing the best basketball of any team in the NBA right now. The numbers show that.
The hottest team in the NBA right now.
Yes, they are. The numbers absolutely show that, and you can give credit to Dwayne Casey. You can give credit to Blake Griffin and his leadership abilities. You can give credit to Andre Drummond and the way he's played. You can give credit. Honestly, there's not a single player on this roster besides Jose Calderon that you can't give credit to in their recent success.
Why he's still on the roster is beyond me. But
totally unnecessary for me to take a shot at him. I just feel like it's part of the show.
And he's actually getting playing time, which is annoying.
Every now and then, yes.
He played in the Wolves game and the second Bulls game this week. Both times he
okay, but they were blowing him out.
Both times he played 3 minutes, but
they were blowing him out. I mean, the Pistons beat the Bulls by like 107 points. I mean, come on.
Oh man, but let's talk about Blake Griffin for a second, though. So Blake Griffin he's been playing less hero ball.
Yes.
We said this.
He's been able to play less hero ball. He had to start the year. They were shooting like 12%.
We saw from that quote that he has a lot more trust in his teammates. He's still scoring at a much more efficient rate now. But do you think now, with this whole trust thing going on, do you think that
this whole trust thing going on?
You think that Dwayne?
What a great way to put that.
Do you think Dwayne Casey? Do you think he can afford to rest Blake Griffin for the inevitable playoff stretch?
I don't. We don't have a lock on that 6th seed yet. I still want them to get that 6th seed because if you're moving back, you're playing Toronto, or the number 1 seed. You don't want to move back at all. You want to cement that spot. And honestly, I don't want to ruin the rhythm. You take a guy out of a situation like this, and you can really kind of mess with the rhythm quite a bit and lose that confidence. Confidence is a fragile thing when it comes to an NBA team in a lot of ways.
What about slowing down his usage?
I mean, they already have. How much lower can you go? I mean, you don't want to take a guy out again. You don't want to have a guy lose rhythm by using him less or taking him out and playing him less.
Speaking of
Are there nights where they're going to allow him to play 20 minutes as opposed to 30 or 25 as opposed to 35? Yes, absolutely. There's going to be nights that they're going to use him less and play him less.
Yeah.
And there should be. However, I still don't want to have that be a consistent thing because, again, when a team is hot, you don't want to. You always want to stick with the hot hand. You don't ever want to just take away from it and coast.
Yeah, absolutely. Like taking a cue from the Bulls game on Sunday night. He won't it was a blowout. He played 27 minutes. I think you could have played him 20 if you wanted to.
That's all you needed. But, you don't need to play him more than that. You need to have him in there to get again to keep the rhythm going and stay comfortable. But at the same time, you don't want to overuse them.
Yeah.
I have no issue with them, having him, quote unquote, take a night off every now and then in terms of playing him 20 as opposed to 30 minutes. But I still want to see them keeping him in the lineup because, again, I don't want to ruin the rhythm or ruin the mojo. They've clearly got a mentality right now with the guys that are on the floor and a rapport and a confidence level with the guys on the floor that I don't want to see have anything taken away from.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure they stay in this with this mojo to move forward, and he needs to be there for that to happen.
I was going to say,
Plus, they need to keep winning games.
Exactly.
They still need to keep winning ball games.
That's what I was going to get to next. So, remaining schedule, our biggest competition right now, as far as the 6th seed in the East right now, is Brooklyn. They have the toughest remaining schedule the rest of the way at just about 60%. 60% win percentage against of their opponents.
However, you could, as time rolls by, you could see some of those higher end teams rest a few guys.
But the only two opponents you consider easy are the Heat and the Lakers. And even the Heat you might not consider that easy. But
not anymore, but the Lakers you can. They've only gotten worse.
But the Pistons, they're 12th as far as rating schedule. A little harder than what we were talking about earlier. Just above 500 is the record of opponents, and we do have the benefit of games against the Knicks, the Cavs, the Suns, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Hornets. So we do still have some easy games ahead of us, but we still have to look forward to playing the Pacers twice.
That pumped the brakes on that. Pacers are no good, man. I'm sorry.
The
They're
Warriors, the Raptors, the Nuggets, the Thunder. Those are still on our
The Warriors
slate for
is a tough game. The
games.
Thunder's a tough game. The Raptors is a tough game. But the Pacers, I'll take a pass on that one. That's not that tough of a game.
As well as Portland, too. But,
again, I don't think the Pacers are as good as their records indicated. They've already lost 3 seed. They're about to lose the 4 to the Celtics as well. I don't think the Pacers are any good. They haven't beat anybody good since Oladipo's been down. So, but no, I mean there are some tough games in there. It's not going to be an easy rest of the way. But Brooklyn having a little bit of a harder schedule is not going to be easy for them either. And the tougher Eastern Conference games might outside of Toronto and Milwaukee, because those guys might start resting some players. But outside of those two teams, you're seeing teams still fighting for playoff seeding, whether it be Indiana, whether it be a Philly or a Boston or Detroit even. Those teams are fighting for a playoff seed still, and they're going to be giving you full force.
But
the same goes with the West.
What worries me about this upcoming stretch of games is looking back the last 16 games from the Pistons, looking at who they played and who they beat. I mean, the argument you made for the Pacers, you could technically make the same argument.
I mean, they
for
played the
Pistons.
Bulls twice.
They're only wins against good teams. You can say Toronto without Kawhi, Denver without who were missing, Gary Harris and
I don't know. They were missing anybody in the last 16.
They
were missing everybody that night, weren't they?
They were missing a few guys, and then you'd probably debate this, but you could debate Indiana as a.
I don't think that's that tough of a team, but okay.
But that's everyone we like. That's it for above 500 teams. I mean, you beat Dallas, you beat New York twice, you beat Washington, you beat Atlanta, Miami, Cleveland, Chicago twice, Minnesota.
Some of those teams Indiana's lost to since Oladipo's been out.
And your losses have been to the above 500 teams. You lost to
I mean the Pistons
Boston,
have been,
you lost to San Antonio.
Right. I think the Pistons in terms of their who they've lost to and who they've beat are against teams. They beat the teams that they are. Yeah. They've beaten the teams they should and they've lost to the teams that they should. They've got to find a way to pick up some of those games. Yeah. But especially if they want to stay in that 6 seed.
That's
anytime you're seeing a team get hot based on benefit of schedule to an extent, it does worry me. I mean, Indiana's a great example of that. They're not as good as what their record has indicated since Oladipo's been out. And it's because they are a very big beneficiary of their schedule. And that's very much changing now. Their schedule is brutal the rest of the way. And the Pistons' schedule is not very easy the rest of the way. But
what's
again,
your confidence on us being able to pick up a win against, say, a Toronto or either of our 2 games against Portland or Golden State or OKC or Denver?
If they continue to play the way they are, I'm still pretty confident that we can get a win against. Maybe split against one, Portland, or steal a win against a team like Toronto or something.
Because if anything, this stretch has allowed them to play with confidence, and that's important. So.
And that is something that can allow you to steal a win against some of those better teams for sure.
I mean, Phoenix just stole a win against Golden State last
night. Exactly. That's a team that might be going through some stuff right now. But I'm still confident the Pistons can hold on to that number 6 seed. Again, Brooklyn's still got the tougher schedule. But neither team has an easy schedule to play. But I'm still fairly confident the Pistons can do this. Hold on to that 6 seed. Do I want them to hold on to that 6 seed? Yeah, because I don't think it matters who they play now because they're not going to be able to play Indiana. So I don't think it matters who they play now because they're either playing Philly, Toronto, or Milwaukee.
Yeah, this is just having fun with it. I don't think either of us think they're going to go anywhere in the playoffs. This is just
You pointed out a fun little
This is
thing
just
about
enjoying the
strength of
ride.
schedule in terms of tough games before the. Before
Oh
it
yeah.
started.
So if you guys were curious, where we pull our strength of schedule from is a site called Tankathon.com, and they list the team's opponent record, average opponent record, plus their toughest opponents and their easiest opponents. And for the first time,
In,
the Pistons
ever.
are now considered in the team's toughest opponents.
If that's not a moral victory, I don't know what is.
Like for example, Toronto's toughest games are against OKC, Detroit. Like those are the toughest games left.
Are we in the easiest for anybody? Are we in the easiest rankings for anybody?
No.
Okay.
It's just toughest.
Okay. Fair
I
enough.
think the way they do it is because if you're above 500, I think they put you in the toughest. I think that's how.
Well,
it works.
they probably go based on your games left. I mean,
Yeah.
it says easiest opponents play. They probably just take the top and bottom four.
Well, no, because like for example, Brooklyn only has 2 teams in the East opponents to play.
Okay. All right.
So,
Fair enough then.
Yeah,
Well, there's a moral victory if I've
and
ever
like
seen
Toronto
one.
only has 4 teams, and we're one of the 4. Like
Nice.
it's weird, but yeah,
Do they play Toronto at home or on the road?
the Toronto game's at home.
I think we can win that one.
We could.
I think we got that one.
I wasn't going to say we got that one, but
I got a
just
feeling.
how close that game was without Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, but I got a feeling.
All right.
I just do. I just do. We didn't have Langston Galloway
Nick's got
shooting
a
lights
feeling.
out. I got a feeling. I'm probably
That the
dead wrong, and they're probably going to
Pistons
get.
gonna beat the Raptors.
I'm probably dead wrong, and they're going to get blown out by 40. But I got a feeling. All right.
Anyway, that's about
Look
it.
at me believing in this basketball team.
It's weird, and I like it.
Oh man.
But anyway,
I think
that's-
I've worn a Pistons shirt every day for the last week. At some point, whether it be to like getting ready
That's
for
just how
bed or
many
just
games
like
we go to.
hanging
We just have a
out.
stockpile of Piston shirts.
Oh my god! I like reorganized that in my entire drawer of T-shirts, which by the way I could hardly close. I have so many. I think 65 to 70% of them are Pistons T-shirts. There are so many. I have so many Piston shirts.
Can you tell we're Pistons fans?
I don't know. If you can't, you can now.
That'll do it for us on today's show. Got a little bit of both for once. A little bit of Lions, a little bit of Pistons.
Yeah, and it's going to continue with that as we get closer to the drafts and free agency kind of wraps up. You're going to see us really kind of having a split podcast episode with the Lions being one half, the Pistons being another. Before we just stick 100% Lions as basketball season ends, but it's fun. It keeps things new and interesting.
But let's hope
We can't just nail one topic into you.
Let's hope we can get into some really interesting playoff talk.
I hope
I'm
so
hoping
too.
The
Like
Pistons can win some games and actually keep us speculating.
I want to
to
be able to have some interesting topics as we get into May and June.
Exactly.
Like I want some interesting conversations as we get into the the later into the summer. God, that's so nice to be able to say. Oh, it's gonna be 60 this week.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed.
And as we record this, the Pistons are playing the Brooklyn Nets.
Yes, they
it's a
do play
very
the Nets
important
tonight. That
game.
is a big time
Yeah.
game right there. Big time game. So we can turn it on.
Yeah, no, we're about to actually.
Okay.
We sign off.
All right. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening. Don't forget to check us out on Twitch if you want to see our national broadcast. We're getting into football season, so lots of exciting things happening there.
Yeah.
www.twitch.tv/thefanreport. You can also hit us up on Twitter. We post the link all the time, and it's in our bio, I believe. At Real Fan Report is how you can like us on Twitter or follow us on Twitter. Liking is Facebook. But hit up at Detroit Podcast. That is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network that we run the show through. We thank them for all they do for us. And we'll see you guys next week. This has been the Fan Reporters. Bye, fans.
For fans.
Thank you guys again, and we will see you next week. Have a good one.
Go Lions, go Pistons.